the Virtual Fighter Squadron Samurais F16 Block Charlie 5052 tutorial series, and today we're going to talk about the CMDS panel itself and how to set up CMDS programs and use them efficiently. Okay, so first of all, let me get a little bit of altitude here. First of all, here on the left side we have the CMDS panel. We talked about it for a short moment already in the startup tutorial, and we have the MWS, jammer, and RWR power switches here in terms of linking these devices to CMDS control panel. So once they're on, the CMDS control panel can actually access these devices as well. So once you're in auto or semi and there's a jammer, for example, implemented into F16 at some point, it will be able to actively jam threads. The CMDS panel is also connected to your RWR, so it actually works in correlation. So these two systems work hand in hand, and so whatever is painting you or attacking you is going to be also, in this case, used to actually have the CMDS program or the CMDS control software and avionics do their work. So as you can see, we also have a jettison button. If I switch that one up, it would jettison all chaffs and flares as fast as it can. We have a rotary that's called PGRM for program. So we have a bit test, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and a fifth program that we cannot see on this program select. Fifth program is actually a panic button program, but we're not going to dive into that because I personally never use it. So for me it is okay that it's there, but it's more or likely to be a system I never actively use in the fight. So next to it, to the right, we have the mode select switch, which is off, standby, manual, semi-auto, bypass. I generally run it in manual because I'm configuring myself programs in the CMDS control page of the DED. So once you start up, you go from off to standby or directly to manual. Just make sure once you take off that you have your CMDS control panel on either manual, semi, or auto, otherwise your countermeasures will not work. Okay, for the control selection, what have I done? On the Warthog that I use, I have a CMDS control switch, which is the one where your thumb is. I have selected forward and aft to be the same as they are in the aircraft. As you can see, left and right are not designated on my control bindings. What I have done is I designated the left, in this case button 18, and right to program knocks counterclockwise and clockwise. Why? Because this way I can be in the cockpit, in the fight, have my heads out, and can immediately change my program. As you can see, now I'm switching right on the CMDS control switch, going right, so clockwise with the rotary, and left is counterclockwise, so I can easily switch between my two programs that I mainly use. Program 1 I use for BVR. There's a certain program behind that I set up and tested in the chaff spacing, and program 2 is actually chaffs and flares, so that I can actually use the program 2 once I actually pass a certain distance to the bandits, and I know that now we're in a range where actual infrared missiles are becoming a threat as well. Program 3 I generally use for air-to-ground, so there's a different program that I set myself as well. There's a way to set programs up and save them. There's a Lua file in the control, or actually I think it was in the cockpit page or cockpit folder, and you want to look for I think it's cockpit CMDS, and then in CMDS you find the ALQ 140 something, and there you can actually set your programs, save that. Each time after an update you have to replace that Lua file, but it's integrity check safe, so it can work on any server. This way you don't have to go into your programming each time you start on a server or on a mission. Okay, so how do we get to the programs? Right now I'm in Bingo Fuel or in Bingo page on the DD. I want to go, either I can directly go into list and can go into my CMDS control panel, or if you want to make it more clear for yourself to learn the systems, you just go into return, into main menu, go into list, and then you can go into the sub page of your button 7, which is CMDS. Generally, it does not matter. As soon you click on list, you will be in the first sub menu of your you will be in your first sub menu of your DD pages, or DD page itself. And as you see on first page, we have more important parts of our flight that we will generally use more often. And CMDS is layered under button 7, so we just hit button 7. We've seen that in the startup tutorial already, how to set up your bingo. That's actually the first page of the CMDS program pages, and here we see 4515, because I do carry 90 shafts, 28 flare, or 90 shafts, 30 flares, and in this case I want to have a warning, low warning from Betty once either one of the two, could be the shaft or flare, hits the 50% mark first. So and then I can double check on the bottom, hey, which countermeasures are about to be empty. Okay, is it chaff or is it flare, and so on. So it gives me some information. 01 and 02 are others, as you can see as well in correlation. 01, 02, others 1 and 2. What that means is that the F-16 in real life has also some other countermeasures. For example, some decoys can be used. In some nations they do that. Not sure about the US Air Force at the moment, if they have some other decoys that they could use. But anyways, so to change something, it's always the same on the DD page, so nothing new actually. You can move your double or your ICP controls switch up and down, and then you have return to get back to the main menu, and you also have sequence. In this case, with sequence, we will actually move through the whole program of each countermeasure part, or to the page of each countermeasure part, and it will recycle from the beginning. So there's no backwards, it's just chaff, flare, other 1, other 2, and then we come back to bingo. Okay, so how do we set this up? First of all, once you're in the control page, or the DD CMDS page, you can use your arrow ICP DD increment switch up and down. You can use that one to go through the programs. As you can see, it's not limited in one way. You can go up or down either way, and we have a total of 5 programs available, as I mentioned earlier. So in this case, we're in the chaff program, which is the first one you will access once you have set or seen the bingo page. And for this short tutorial, I will manipulate program 4, and program 4 is currently bucket of 2 chaffs and 0.1 second. Sequence is 5, interval separation is half a second. So what does that mean? Currently our bucket, the BQ quantity, is 2. That means it will dispense 2 chaffs once I initiate the program, and the interval in that bucket between the 2 chaffs is going to be 0.1 of a second, so 1/10 of a second. And then we have sequence, which is how often will this whole bucket that we talk about, the 2 shafts and their separation, be repeated. Therefore, we have now bucket and sequence. So sequence is always, one sequence is the complete bucket setup that you see here. And so we would have now 5 times the repetition of 2 shafts and that time scale, whatever you chose. And the sequence interval means there's half a second between each repeated bucket. Okay, so sequence, we're going to create something here quick. Let's make it, so let's make this 4, and we will put this to 0 to 5. Okay, so we have to go 0 to 50 for a quarter second. I will repeat that twice, and I will put the spacing to 3 seconds. So now I have shafts, 4 shafts dispensed in 1 second, 2 times, same bucket, and they will be spaced by 3 seconds. I'm now going once to the right to actually access my flares, and I will set up the same here. So on each page it's pretty much the same. So it's 40250, enter 2, and we place this one as 300, not 30 seconds. You can make different setups. You could have shafts dispense different than flares. That's possible. You could go for first. Basically you could make it a different time scale here or there, and so you can actually have a differentiation between the two. Let's go into the external and let's use that program once. So I will switch to my program 4. There we go. I'm now in program 4, as you can see. Initiating a program. Click, click, click. And 3 seconds gone, and we had 4 shafts and flares again. That's about it. That was the short way of explaining the countermeasure, how they work in terms of using a manual mode. And I think this is a very important part of the F16, because without countermeasures, you probably set countermeasure programs. It will be very hard to, nearly impossible to survive missile shots in here. Okay, thanks for watching, and that's about it.